All right, it is race review time. Doing this on my iPhone, so sorry if it's a little shaky. Just here we are 2 weeks past Ironman Arizona. It was back on November 24th. I've had a lot of time to think about it, collect my thoughts, and just see if I can put it here in this video. A lot of people, y'all know that I decided back on December 12th, 2018, that I was going to go from a fat, lazy couch potato to Ironman. I want to do it in under a year. I'm actually sitting in my game room where I was probably most a couch potato. Right over there, you'll see is the bar area. I spent many a day and night up here getting just obliterated. I gave all that up and decided, hey, I need to do something else. I initially signed up for a 5K Spartan race and I started running and couldn't run a quarter of a mile, almost died. It was miserable, it was shameful, but I stayed with it. I really started training just so I wouldn't die during that little 5K race. And about a week later, I decided, hey, that's not going to be enough. It's not going to keep me motivated. That was 6 months out from 5K. I was like, it's plenty of time. So right after that, I signed up for Ironman. Understand, I needed something big that would scare me to death. And at that point, I hadn't really run more than a mile in probably 13 years. I had never been on a road bike, and I hadn't swam a lap in 25 years. So why did I pick Ironman? I'm not sure. But I always thought it would be cool. I had it down as like a bucket list thing or something I'd like to accomplish, but the condition I was in, I didn't think that was ever going to happen. I didn't think that was likely or possible. It was one of those things, and I just said, hey, that'd be really cool if I did. It'd be cool if I someday could get an Ironman tattoo, but wasn't in the cards at that time. So signed up, trained like an animal for 11 months, and then the Tuesday before the 24th, so the 18th or so, I got in my truck, loaded all my belongings up, and took off to Tempe. It was kind of like a spiritual journey heading out there. I wanted to get out there in time to acclimate, to relax, to just kind of soak it in and enjoy it. I did drive. It was a long, long drive, about 14 hours on the way out. Cool drive once you got out of Texas. You start seeing the rock formations in New Mexico and in the mountains and such. So really, really, really pretty. A couple times I caught myself just choking up like, man, this is happening. This is a real deal. I'm heading out. The day before, so I got out there, the energy was electric. The whole city was behind it. Happened to coincide with Arizona State's homecoming weekend. They were playing Oregon the night before the race. The village, Ironman Village, if you've never been around an Ironman, I would suggest going in there and just checking it out if you get the chance. It's a pretty neat thing. All the athletes and the vendors set up. Lots of energy, lots of just positive vibes. It's a great environment to be in. The practice swim was scheduled Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Now, I had been swimming that distance for quite a while, but it's hard to replicate 3,000 people in the water at one time. And that water was 62 degrees. We had been swimming in the lake near here for the last few weeks, and the water here was a little colder. So a lot of people said they struggled with the water in Arizona. I was fine with the water. So go out Saturday at 10 a.m., a couple thousand people out there to practice. And, man, I freaked the hell out. Got in, knew I could do the distance. It was a 700-yard practice swim, but as soon as I got in, I got kicked in the face. Just kind of panicked. I pulled up on one of the paddle boards and just kind of relaxed and tried to calm myself down because I was freaking the hell out. And I did the swim, and the time I wasn't bad, but I was terrified. Got out of the water, started thinking, what the hell am I doing? Am I ready for this? I had some serious, serious doubts. I knew I was trained. I knew I was conditioned for it, but I was just overwhelmed. I started freaking out all day long. I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, shit, man, I'm going to make a fool of myself. I've been on the internet talking about this. Everybody I know knows all about this, and I'm not going to be able to do it. I remember talking to Lisa, and she did a good job of calming me down. Hey, you're prepared for this. You can handle it. And man, I just relaxed that night. Watched Tennessee play. We won. It was cool because Arizona State upset Oregon and the fireworks started going off at about 10 o'clock Tempe time. So that was pretty exciting. I was still awake. Finally went to sleep, slept about 5 hours. I slept well, woke up at 3 a.m., got ready, and I just felt just a weird calmness about it. I was like, hey, either I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. I mean, it was too late by that point to have any concerns. Nothing was going to change. And just to update, an Ironman is a 2.4 mile open water swim, a 112 mile bike ride, and you finish off with a 26.2 mile marathon. Okay. So I got out there, was fairly relaxed. It's dark. It was, a huge buzz, that morning. And I was just calm. I was laughing. I was light. I felt good. I remember saying to Lisa that, hey, I'll be okay, I guess, as long as my goggles don't come off. I don't lose my goggles. So I get out. I seat myself. I mean, typically I can swim that distance in about an hour 20 or so. So I seated myself accordingly. I wanted to get in clean water. I wanted to get ahead of everybody. I wanted to get inside the buoys, and just go, and have as little contact as possible. I got up, across that line. I hit that water. I was like, here it is. It's for real now. Felt good. I didn't panic. Got tangled up, though, at about 100 yards in, me and a guy, because I was going basically across all the people. And his fingers basically perfectly removed my goggles. It wasn't intentional, whoever the guy is. I know you didn't do it on purpose. But my goggles came off at 100 yards. The water was 62 degrees. That's cold. Fill the sink up with 62-degree water, stick your face in it, and then imagine swimming 2.4 miles in it. I went to one of the race officials' rafts, and I kind of pulled myself up, and he's like, "Man, you don't have goggles." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit." But don't call the people, whatever the hell they're called, the jet skis. Don't call them over. I'm fine. Just let me collect myself. Took a couple deep breaths and realized, man, this is crazy. Just put my face in the water and went and just banged it out. I did about the first mile, and then I went around the corners, run around the turn, because it's like a big rectangle that you swim in. And I couldn't see anything. My eyes were killing me. They were throbbing. Came back around, decided, all right, let me flip over my back, let me relax, let me get my face out of the water for a minute. And I started backstroking. And I'm going under a bridge, and I look up and I realize, damn, I'm actually moving okay. I was fine. I wasn't fatigued. It was more my face and my eyes were just on fire. I mean, not having my goggles. So I went between backstroke and freestyle. I'd roll over to get my eyes out of the water. And I looked at my watch and I was like, I've got time. I'm going to do it. Now, I wasn't going to do it in an hour 20 or 30 that I thought, but I knew you have 2 hours, 20 minutes, and I was well under that time. And I was like, hey, just get out of this, survive this. You've done it without goggles. So I go and I hit the final turn for the home stretch. It's probably 300 yards. And I get ready, and I've got earplugs in. So I get ready to turn over, and I'm just going to rip this 300 yards up. And right before I turned, I felt like someone was trying to get my attention. Like I heard someone yelling. And I kind of go back to my back, and I look up, and at first I think, oh, shit, it's a race official, and I've missed a buoy, and I'm going to have to go back. So I was like, oh, hell no, please don't do this to me. It was a fellow swimmer, and he was motioning. He had seen that I didn't have goggles, and he actually had an extra pair, and he handed them to me. Well, I was kind of disoriented still. So I just kind of put them on my head, and I finished my swim without my goggles. I don't know why. Don't ask me. So I get out of the water, and I pull them down over just kind of see how they fit. And I realized they're actually my goggles. The guy, I talked to him because he comes out of the water about the same time. I was like, hey, where did you get these goggles? And he said he was just swimming, and they went through his fingers. So he kept them. He had a sleeveless wetsuit on, and he put them in his wetsuit, and he held on to them thinking, hey, either he'll need them, or B, somebody else will need them. That's what he said. And they were actually my original goggles. And I really liked the goggles, so I was excited to have them back. And I told him these were actually my goggles. He laughed, but it was a little too late. But hey, I thought that was pretty neat that he found my goggles and gave them back to me. So great, just kind of like a memento, like, hey, I lost you in a lake and you came back to me. So pretty exciting. I realized, like, shit, I've done it. I'm fine. Now it's, don't be too, don't be ridiculously cautious, but also be careful. Don't do anything dumb on the bike. The bike, as I mentioned, I've never ridden a road bike until about April, but I felt extremely confident on the bike. Got on it and just tore it up. I felt great. Did the bike in just over 6 hours. At one point, at about 30 miles in, I realized, shit, I'm going to be an Ironman. And I actually teared up because I was coming down the hill. I'm looking at the mountains, and my eyes welled up with tears. And I remember thinking, like, shit, that would suck. Crying and crashing. That'd be pretty embarrassing. But I pulled it back together. I only stopped to pee one time. I realized a lot of people were getting flats after the aid station, so I didn't want to mess with that. I didn't want to get a flat, so I was like, hey, I'm just not going to pee. I thought I was going to have to again at about the 80 or 90 mile mark, but I was fine. I stayed hydrated. I never felt bad on the bike. I never felt tired. I kept a good eye on my heart rate. On the swim, my heart rate stayed in the high 130s. Just a lot of that was adrenaline, but on the bike, I pounded it some. It stayed at about the same, so I never shot up. There were spikes, but the average stayed at about 138. The last 10 miles of the bike, I was kind of stretching out on the bike. I slowed way down, but it was by design to kind of get ready for the run. I wanted to be ready as soon as I changed clothes and ran. Got off and the bike, and it was crazy. The crowd cheering, screaming for you. People you don't know, they're going crazy, slapping high fives and such. It was one of the absolute coolest things ever. Changed clothes, took off running, and felt fine. Was walk running for the most part. My plan was to go out and just walk the first mile because in training I had cramped coming off a long bike ride and running. So I'd cramped early, but I was able to get out of it. So I was like, hey, I'll just walk and I'll be fine. I didn't. I ran, walked, felt great. Took my time. The one thing that I did feel that I had not felt like there was at about the 10 or 12 mile mark, it felt like my feet just caught on fire. But I was like, shit, I'm not going to let my feet, that's not going to stop me. No chance. Funny thing on the run, at the midway mark of the marathon, you have what's called special needs bags, and you pack it. You're not expected to get that bag, but you pack stuff in there. Like in my case, I put a thermal shirt on because I knew the sun was going to go down in Tempe. It was about 68 all day long, but as soon as the sun goes down in the desert, it gets pretty chilly. So, and I was, a little wet, sweaty, so I put that on. That thing absolutely probably saved me because I stayed fairly comfortable without it. It'd have been pretty chilly. A guy stopped with me at the 13 mile mark, and he gets in his bag, and he walks up with 2 cups of ice that he'd gotten at an aid station, and he gets in his bag, pulls out a Camelback, water bottle, and then he pulls out a bottle of Wild Turkey, like Gold or Select, puts the ice in, fills it up with Wild Turkey, puts a splash of Coke in it, takes a big swig out of the bottle, whatever's left, offers me some. I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. So the last thing in the world I was thinking about was a bottle of whiskey. And I'd start talking to him as we kind of jog off. And he said it was his 10th Ironman, that he's always heard of cool stories like that. And he's like, man, I'm going to drink. Funny thing was, a few miles later, probably 6 or 8 miles later, he and I were pretty close again. And I saw he ran into his buddy that had a half pint in the back of his shirt, so he was able to top his drink off. Good for him. He slowed way down at that point, and I did see him finish. It was pretty cool watching him stumble across, and he was stumbling, but hey, he looked happy, looked like he enjoyed it. I kept jogging until there's a pretty big hill about 8 miles out from the end, and I got my first twinge of my calf. And I was like, you know what? I'm taking it easy. I'm not out here. I don't have a personal best. I'm out here to be an Ironman to finish. So I really backed off. I didn't want my calves to seize up, but I never felt like I was hitting the wall. I took a selfie with someone and had them send it to my wife at the 22 mile mark to let her know, hey, I'm fine and I'm good. So and she said, wow, she commented that I looked, like I didn't look like I had just, been 138 miles, powered by myself. A couple miles out, I stopped. I washed my face. I really did everything I could to take it in. I wanted to take in the whole race. I interacted with spectators. I could hear Mike Reilly calling, telling people congratulations, you are an Ironman. And it was surreal. I'm like, I've done it. I couldn't believe that I'd made it. So I washed my face, straightened myself up, and you can see the video as I crossed the line. I just kind of stopped. I looked up and just thinking, wow. I mean, it was doing everything I could not just break down into a mess of tears. It was absolutely one of the greatest moments of my life, for sure. And now I am an Ironman. There's my finisher medal. A couple things, couple questions, for me here. First off, what was the best part? Shit, I did it myself. I never suffered during the race. I didn't hire a coach. I did all my own nutrition. I did bits and pieces of other things that other people were doing, but I went out and kicked ass every single day. There was not one moment. I mean, when I lost my goggles, I was freaking the hell out a little bit, but there was not a moment where I felt like, man, I'm not ready to do this. I took it in. I had a great day. Man, I felt like I could take on the world. Then I heard after, hell yeah, man, my feet were tore up, but man, I didn't care. It was totally worth it. The worst part, and what went wrong, my goggles. I took a second set off. I just didn't like swimming with anything extra in my wetsuit. Hey, you know what? I'll never do that shit again. I will carry my extra set of goggles, I promise. But hey, that made it kind of a cooler story in my opinion. The race, I did finish it. So, I finished in 15 hours, 3 minutes. Hey, I'm an Ironman. If I did it in 16 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, you have 17 hours to finish. Hey, I'd still be an Ironman, so I'm proud of finishing. Most proud of, again, I did it. Man, I did it. I'm an Ironman. It's still weird, but I did it. First time I've never been this proud of myself for an accomplishment. It was my sole focus in my life for almost a year, and wow, it felt really, really good. What did I learn? From the race itself, obviously, pack extra goggles, but anything is possible. You can do anything in the world if you set your mind to it. There are zero limits. And I hope, I got a lot of messages over the months, people telling me they were inspired. Look, I hope that you don't need a race. You don't need an Ironman, to motivate you. You can go out every day and train like a Spartan. And that was the thing. When you train yourself, it's all mental. You're training yourself to suffer. And when you do that every day, and even when you do go out and do something like Ironman or you have a shitty day, that training does kick into effect. In the military, say you don't rise to the level of your expectations. You fall to the level of your training. And I felt and there were days I'd go out and I'd run and it hurt, and I'd ride and it would hurt, and it was hot and I was miserable. But I just sucked up and did it. And that was, and by the time the race got here, the race was a formality. I was not going to be denied. There was no chance. I would have had to have died on that course before they got me off of it. So, there it is. What's next? Well, I actually missed the deadline. It was September 30th because I want to do Ultraman. Ultraman is day one. It is a 10K, 6.2 mile swim, followed by a 91 mile bike ride. Day two is a 171 mile bike ride. And day three is a 52.4 mile run, a double marathon. So to even be considered, you have to finish an iron distance race. The cutoff is September 30th. Works perfect because I can count this one for the next year's. This year's is March, so next March. So in the meantime, we'll do a couple other things. I'm going to run a 100-kilometer race in April 18th and 19th. 100K, just, so is about 62 miles-ish, give or take. I hate running, by the way. So I'm not going out there like, oh, wow, let's go enjoy a leisurely stroll. 100K is a long damn day. I have no delusions. I'm not hiring a fucking coach. And it's funny, I started getting advice the second I posted it. People started telling me what I need to do and shit. Look, I'm not listening, okay? I don't give a fuck, all right? Your goals aren't mine. And I appreciate it. I understand it all comes from a good place, but just understand, I signed up for a fucking Ironman before I had ever run like an official 5K. I had never done a triathlon. I'd never been on a bike. I know. I mean, and I still got the messages. Well, maybe you should do a sprint and work your way up and do a half and blah, blah, blah and all that. No, fuck that. That's not me. None of that. I mean, I ended up doing a sprint in June. You want to call it a sprint. It was a 200-yard swim. It was, more of a joke than anything. But, man, I take a lot of pride in it. I said, no, I want to complete one of the toughest physically enduring races on earth. And man, I met some great people. I'm better for it. I'm glad I did it. It was absolutely a highlight of my life. So back to it. Hey, next thing is, like I said, Ultraman's my ultimate goal. Probably going to be March of 2021. I've got the big run. I'm going to figure something out, October, November. I'm not sure yet. Right now, again, I'm only 2 weeks out. I have been working out. I have been training. I took about 5 days off where I didn't do a whole lot. But the bug just, was there. But now I want to optimize. For the last 11 months, or now we're at a year now. In 3 days, it'll be a year. I've just been banging it. I was like, shit, let's just go and suffer and get ready. Now I'm actually in, some level of physical shape. So I want to train properly. I want to go through an actual season of training and see how well I can improve. See what I can do. And, at 43 years old, I'm just getting started. So the race, becoming an Ironman, getting that tattoo on my calf, that was not the end. It was just the beginning. And now I can't wait to see what's in store. So any comments, questions, criticism, critiques, hey, fire away. I'm an open book and I will answer anything. But remember, anything in this world is possible. Just be hard on yourself.